So what is MOTS-c used for? If you want better energy, have more peak performance, increase your endurance, maybe you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, MOTS-c is the best peptide to get you there. In this video, I'm going to share with you ways that I've helped other clients utilize MOTS-c effectively. I'm also going to show you the best peptides to stack with MOTS-c. And so by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it's used for and how you can use it personally. So I remember when I was a kid, and in high school there wasn't a lot of great food, and I didn't like the cafeteria food, and so sometimes I was like, I'll just eat in the morning before I go to my basketball practice, and then I'll eat a little bit of lunch. Usually it was like a Snickers bar or something where there's vending machines, and then I'll go again to basketball practice when we had it twice a day, and then I'll come home and eat. And I remember my energy would just get so low, like I wanted to sleep because I was living on sugar alone. I compromised my health. And what I found over time is that by doing that, I actually became more inflamed. I didn't recover as well. Now this is funny because I would read books on nutrition and I knew that there was so much benefit to it, because the only way I could get out of farm work as a kid is I had to make the basketball team, the track team, the football team. And I love sports, but I was not naturally gifted. I mean, if you look at my genes, I am a certified bench warmer. Like all the genes that are turned on for people who have elite endurance, not Regan. People who have elite strength, not Regan. People who are slightly athletic, not Regan's. And I'm actually pretty athletic. I mean, maybe I'm just saying that, but even at my age, I can hang with younger kids. And even when I'm mountain biking at Deer Valley, I take my helmet off and they're like, who's this old guy like shredding down the mountain? But I did that through hard work. And even all the books I read on nutrition, the one thing I didn't know how to do was to activate recovery. And if I had this peptide MOTS-c when I was a kid, I can't imagine how much better I would have done. If I stacked that with the right amount of protein. So I grew up on a cattle ranch, so we had all kinds of beef, but my dad liked to cook beef where there's no nutrients left. I mean, we tease him still. It's like the driest, grayest, deadest meat you could ever imagine. Now, of course, I order everything rare. I'm like, just make it bloody, because that's where I like the flavor. But MOTS-c, the interesting thing about this gene and what researchers have learned is they've said, what is the way that we can express mitochondrial energy in the cells, and what does the body naturally do to circumvent stress? And then how does the stress response relate to our blood sugar, our stamina, and our endurance? And so I would go to the basketball game, football, and if I didn't eat, my blood sugar would just plummet. So I don't know if you've ever been out there, maybe you've been on the court, the field, and all of a sudden you just have this complete collapse. Like no matter what you do, you've got brain fog, you're confused, and you just don't feel like you can get any kind of energy into the cells. It's a deadly experience. And if you felt it, you know what I mean. That's where you have hypoglycemia. And hypoglycemia is really dangerous because our blood sugar will tank and then it will go too high because we'll reach for something sweet. And I think at least 50% of mental issues in our country are due to hypoglycemia. What we see with MOTS-c is you can use this peptide to stabilize blood sugar. And actually they've done studies on kids. One of the studies, they took this population of adolescents, all had type 2 diabetes, and all they did is gave them MOTS-c, and they watched their blood sugar over the course of 30 days. They gave them MOTS-c, and they had them get outside and go play on the playground during lunch. That was it. After 30 days, they found that their hemoglobin A1c came down. Many of those kids were in the non-diabetic range. They went from the 6s down into the mid-5s, 5% as far as hemoglobin A1c goes, and they all lost weight. And so why aren't we using this more? Well, MOTS-c has gone through some clinical trials, and there are some suggestions. There's a little secret in the industry that MOTS-c will be the next big blockbuster, because now that we've got drugs like Ozempic, and actually check out a lot of my videos on alternatives to Ozempic for weight loss, like retatrutide. You'll love those. But what researchers have found is, okay, now we know how to get people to lose weight without doing any hard work on their own with some of these GLP-1s. How can we exercise for them? I find it somewhat amusing, but at the same time, I also see the benefits of MOTS-c on so many different levels. Hypoglycemia is a really powerful thing, and so many kids have it. And not only hypoglycemia, but blood sugar dysregulation. So if you don't respond well to like Ozempic or GLP-1s, MOTS-c is a great alternative. The second area that you want to use this for is longevity. Now you may be saying, like, well, what do you mean? I thought we were talking metabolic function. Well, if you think about the thing that starts to turn on genes that allow us to age really fast, it's when our metabolism gets broken, when you can't make energy in the cells. And MOTS-c is actually one of the most powerful ways of turning on that mechanism. So in the mitochondria, it actually goes into the nucleus of the cell, and it causes more expression of these genes that cause resiliency. And more resiliency means better metabolic function. When I was out on the court, my energy was low, and I just, no matter what I did, I couldn't muster up the energy to play because I was so hypoglycemic, or I had such low blood sugar. MOTS-c could have given me a boost. And that's what happens as we age. Our cells lose their sensitivity. And so one of the drugs that people are looking at and that they've used for over a decade is metformin. And they've used that even if they don't have any diabetic tendencies. Metformin's been prescribed as a way to stabilize that glucose regulation, because having good glucose regulation requires a lot of muscle. It requires really healthy liver function, healthy diet, and low stress. Good luck, right? I know you're busy. And so what we found is that instead of using metformin, because metformin can be somewhat toxic at certain doses, a lot of my clients just don't like the way it makes their stomach feel. They don't sleep as good. Some of you do great on it, and that's just fine. But even Peter Attia has kind of changed his mind on it. And you'll hear David Sinclair talk about MOTS-c. But what we found is that this seems to be a better alternative. Now, we need the research to substantiate that, but from a longevity perspective, this is something that I use on a regular basis. The third reason why you'd want to use MOTS-c is if you notice that you don't have good energy and you find that your body just doesn't seem to recover, you don't have the endurance you once did. Like I mentioned, I love mountain biking, and I time myself on Puke Hill. Every time I use MOTS-c, my time improves 10 to 15%. Now, if you apply that to day-to-day life, some people have a hard time just walking up their stairs. So MOTS-c can be incredibly impactful for those of you who want better endurance and better muscle health. And MOTS-c also, if you have better glucose disposal systems, you're going to find that it helps protect the brain. And then if you're protecting the brain and you have great glucose disposal and great energy, you're going to have better blood circulation, better vascularity. So that ageless future axis, that axis that we talk about, the brain, the heart, and the muscles, MOTS-c is a great peptide to activate all of those. So what are the best peptides that you'd want to use with MOTS-c? Well, it's interesting because for those of you who have had like Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr or autoimmunity or Hashimoto's like I had at one time, MOTS-c can be very powerful when you add other peptides with it that relate to the mitochondria. So these are called MDPs, or mitochondrial-derived peptides, and SS31 is a peptide that I'm using right now. Actually, this morning I used tesamorelin, ipamorelin. I used PT141, a little oxytocin to get my blood flow, and then I also added in SS31 because what it does is it repairs the mitochondria. So when the mitochondria get damaged, you want to flush those out. It's called mitophagy. Just like we have autophagy, which this great mitochondrial peptide, MOTS-c, triggers autophagy, especially when you exercise. But if you use it with SS31, what you'll notice is that it can repair the mitochondrial tissue and you become more insulin sensitive. So it's like the MOTS-c is cleaning up all the pathways that allow you to get energy into the cell. And then the SS31 is making sure that that waste, the metabolic waste, that's being removed, and that you're also expressing new mitochondria. Actually, in clinical studies, they're finding that it can be used very effectively for Alzheimer's and type 2 diabetes, which, a lot of people call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because it's an energy crisis in the brain due to a lack of glucose getting to the cells. The other peptide you can use, like I used this morning, is tesamorelin, ipamorelin. You can use growth hormone releasing peptides, making sure you cycle those, because if you watch my video on tesamorelin, how to use it and how to cycle it, I talk about the difference of cycling that growth hormone peptide because of the mTOR and AMPK pathways. But if you're using MOTS-c and Tesamorelin, Ipamorelin at the same time, what you're going to find is you'll get a greater expression of AMPK. So use like the MOTS-c in the morning, and then at night you're getting that recovery, so you can actually trigger some mTOR so that you recover from your workouts. It's a beautiful symphony, and what I found with peptides is when you can stack them in the right sequence based on what your lab values look like, that's where you get the biggest benefit. And so if you enjoyed this video and you're ready to take your fitness to the next level and really fine-tune your body composition, then you're gonna love my video on Ozempic and some of the downsides of it. And I'll tell you exactly what not to do if you are taking medication like Ozempic. I'll see you in the next video.